Separate the real from the fake. See, we got to get back to love. If we get back to love, then that's when we're going to get back to us.
It seems like it's never enough. And what do you say when you're...
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of People Empowerment, where we would strive to change the conditions in our community. As you know, we've told you from before, we're having a series of housing court going on right now. We have Judge Carney back again with us. How you doing today, Judge?
Good, Nate. How are you?
Great to have you back with us. We're going to keep him in here as much as we can. You know, ask the judge, ask the judge, ask the judge. So we got the direct information. We're going to touch bases a little bit on some of the things we went over last week very briefly, and then we're going to go into some more very pertinent information that the public needs. Remember, I'm Nate Boyd. I'm the host. I'm the people's advocate, and so here I am getting information out to you. So how are you today, Judge?
Very good.
Ready?
Very good.
Ready to share some information with the people?
Always ready to share some information.
Okay, great. All right, what I'd like to talk about right off the bat to get some clarity going on is, again, you are a city court judge. Your district is the 8th court, the 8th district.
Buffalo is in the 8th Judicial District.
Oh, Buffalo is in
the 8th Judicial District.
That's how
right.
It works.
My jurisdiction would be all of the city of Buffalo, but I'm also an appointed acting county court judge, so I have jurisdiction in anything in Erie County.
Oh, in anything in Erie County, okay. Now, you know, we were going over a lot of things last week, how housing court one-on-one, tenant-landlord disputes, and things like that, and, you know, and getting into court. But there's a point where people come into court. Some people come to court with lawyers and some don't have lawyers.
Right.
Right? Now, you say you got two people coming in. You got the landlord, he's got a lawyer. And you got the
Sometimes,
tenant,
yeah.
and they don't have a lawyer. Now, how does that work? Do they...
We have two programs to represent indigent tenants, poor tenants.
Indigent tenants.
Right. And that would be the attorney of the day, who is there every day, 5 days a week in landlord-tenant court for evictions. And then we have neighborhood legal services, and they're there 2 days a week, and they generally will pick up anything that needs to be a trial or a hearing, anything that's not just a straightforward eviction case. If it becomes a habitability hearing or a hearing to determine evidence about what the two sides are saying. So I would encourage everybody, every citizen that goes to landlord-tenant court, take the time. They'll be right outside the hallway, sign up, and before your case is heard, you will speak to an attorney. Now, you'll be interviewed to determine that you're eligible.
All right, let's understand. Let's just understand that a little bit clearly now. You said sign up. So there's a board outside the courtroom that you can actually sign up that says that you need an attorney?
Yes.
And there's a wage level on it?
Yes.
For attorneys, is that how it works?
Yes.
So can you tell about the people about what the
what the guidelines
so they
are?
know?
They vary. They're generally federally set. If you are supported by any governmental means, if you are on SSI, if you are on social services, if you are on anything that stems from the government, you will qualify.
Okay.
And after that, it goes on guidelines of whether you're single, you have one child, two children, number of dependents. It's relatively low. Since I was a public defender, was the last time I actually knew what the guidelines were. But generally speaking, for a single individual, you would have to earn less than $1,500 a month to qualify.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot, no.
That's
I think
not a lot
it used
at
to
all.
be $300 a week, and I think it's gone up from then, but yeah, it's not a lot.
Okay, so, well, most people are over that, I would assume.
Most people are over it, but the attorneys are fairly liberal with their interpretation. You know, it depends on what attorneys are doing. The lawyer of a day, who, you know, the lawyer of a day, they have permanent employees that do the interviewing, and they'll stick to their guidelines. But if you're a little bit over here or there, it's, you know, it's a one-day appearance. They'll make it work for you.
Okay, now this is just, you know, just a little follow-up on that question. So basically, if I come in there and I can't prove my wages, it's just a merit system, honor
It's a merit system, yeah, because everything in landlord-tenant is that day. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of time to do the investigation, so they'll take your word for it.
Okay, now, in the case where a person has to represent themselves and they don't meet the money eligibility requirement,
Right.
If they would represent themselves, that's called a pro se representation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that the same?
Yes, you represent yourself pro se.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Supreme Court Law Library, where they offer court assistance. They offer legal and procedural information to people.
Yes.
Now, are you familiar at all with the Court Help Center?
I'm
Supreme Court
minimally
Law
familiar with it because that stems from Supreme Court. We don't have a public access library in city court because Supreme Court covers that. So I know that there is public access to that. I know that there are very, very helpful people there that once you walk in and you say, I would like to see something on landlord-tenant, or I would like to see something on evictions, they will direct you to the areas or the books that you need to go to. And of course, if you have access to a computer or Google, I mean, you could put into your smartphone, evictions in New York State, and it'll show you, sections of the RPAPL, which is the long volume of laws that control evictions.
Okay. Now, I see here from my list here, I see that they do these, they give you free legal and procedural information to the public. Now, they got a list of some things down here I'd like to go over quickly. It says that they can tell you how to commence actions, commence cases. Now, when it comes to a person that doesn't know this stuff, if a person comes down to the court and they want to get information, if a person didn't know about the law library and information that I'm sharing with them right now, but they wanted to commence a case, what would they do, Your Honor?
We have a small claims office in the City Court of Buffalo. Small claims will handle any civil litigation at $5,000 or less. So if you're suing anybody for $5,000 or less, just go to Buffalo City Court, go to the 7th floor, and we have small claims clerks there that will personally walk you through how to file that claim.
You got that, public? Small claims court, 5,000 or under, and that's where you go when you want to commence a case where you want to
sue somebody. Right.
Okay. Now, what about as far as what is the procedure for answering cases? Like somebody sends you a notice to appear in court, right? And you don't appear, and say you don't appear, but say you didn't get the notice. Say they sent it out, but it didn't reach you.
Right.
Yet there's a notice for you to appear in court.
Right.
What happens when you don't appear and you haven't honestly gotten that information?
Neighborhood Legal Services would handle cases like that for poor people. They will file a motion to reopen the case. We reopen hundreds of cases.
Oh, really?
And they're exactly what you're saying. They didn't get the notice, or they didn't get the notice on time. They may have been in an emergency room, or their child was sick, and we will reopen an eviction case, for example.
Good.
They will get that done. They'll get that motion to a judge in a day.
Okay, but let's go on that eviction case. Say somebody they got a notice to appear, they don't appear. What do? You go ahead and follow through with the eviction? Is that how it works? You say?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a.
Explain it to me.
I would say that if we have 100 eviction cases, on 25 of those cases every day, or 30 of those cases every day, one side or the other will not show up.
Okay.
And if it's the landlord that doesn't show up, then the eviction is dismissed. And if the tenant does not appear, then the eviction is granted. Those are granted, those dismissals or the eviction being granted is done that day. And if you're the party, then you get served 72 hours
What I'm
later,
about to ask you.
you know, the marshal comes out and serves you 72 hours later, you should get right to the neighborhood legal
Okay,
services.
stop you
and
for a
they
minute,
handle
Judge. All right, the order, the tenant doesn't show up. You write the eviction order.
that. Right.
72 hours later, sheriff shows up at your house.
Yes.
Right? Is that the time frame? It's going to take 3 days, not the next day. It's going to be 3 days?
It's usually 5 days.
Oh, 3 to 5
It's
days.
supposed to be 3, but the marshals are extremely busy like everybody else.
Okay, so 3 to 5 days, the marshal shows up at your house with the eviction notice. Now, what is it, a 72-hour eviction notice?
Yes.
Okay, now at that point, you can refile. I mean, that's
Yes, you
what I
can
need to know.
reopen
How
that
do you?
case.
Okay, how do you
Yep.
do it? Right at that point, you got the 72-hour notice. Then what does a tenant do right at that point?
You have a couple of options. You can go right down to Buffalo City Court. You can go right down to the landlord-tenant courtroom, and as we discussed, that changes every month where that is.
Okay.
And talk to the lawyer of the morning. Even though you're not on the calendar that day,
okay.
you can go down and ask questions of the lawyer of the morning, and they'll refer you to, like I said, neighborhood legal services, and they can bring a motion to the judge to stop the eviction and reschedule it, and it will be rescheduled within 24 or 48 hours. We bring
Before
those
that,
in
okay.
right away.
So the public, so now you must understand that even if you have been evicted, if you have a credible reason for not attending, a valid reason, then you can come
Right.
back to court immediately, though, before that time frame is up, that 72 hours,
Right.
immediately, and file it, and they'll reopen the case.
Yes. We
Now,
will reopen the case on a legitimate reason.
On a legitimate
to give
reason.
you two extremes. Your child has a cold. That's not a legitimate reason.
okay,
Your child was in ECMC emergency room. That's a valid reason. Bring us the paperwork, or bring the lawyer the paperwork from the emergency room, and they'll get it. In that case, it's a slam dunk. They'll get it reopened.
so if you were sick that day, you better have those papers from the hospital with
You
you.
better have something.
Is that right?
Right. You can't just have a sore throat.
Okay, now just to finish on the evictions, right quick. Now, after 72 hours, the sheriffs come and then they take your stuff and they put it out on the street?
The sheriffs will, not the sheriffs, the marshals will come.
The marshals?
And they will serve you with the eviction notice, and at that point in time, you have 72 hours to move.
Okay.
And if you're not moved within 72 hours, then the marshals can come out and move you forcibly, so to speak.
Okay, forcibly. Does that mean you and all your belongings out
Yes.
on the street?
Yes.
Okay, can the landlord also just come and change the locks and keep your
No,
stuff?
it has to be done legally. Any landlords that lock
after
you
the,
out.
after the
Right.
72 hours, Marshall is out here. Okay, you got to leave out of the house right now.
Yes.
Get everything you can. Then
Right.
the landlord can change the locks at that point.
Yes. The landlord can change the locks, but a landlord must preserve your property
Oh,
for 30 days. They have an obligation to store the property as best they can for 30 days.
Oh, really? That's an inherent obligation?
Within limits. I mean, if you're renting the Taj Mahal and you have 6,000 square feet worth of furniture, do they have to store that? No. But if you have an apartment's furniture and you're evicted and you are removed from there by the marshals,
Physically removed.
they can then move your furniture and they must store it for a reasonable period of time, which the courts have said is about 30 days.
So they can move it out of that apartment,
Right.
but they have to move it in a reliable storage facility. Now, what? Now, what if you come to get your stuff? And this is just for people to know. What if you come to get your stuff 20 days later, and some of your stuff is broken? Your TV broken, couch is broken. Is anybody responsible for that? I just wonder if you know. Just wonder if you know, Judge.
Yes. The party that broke it is responsible for it. The proof level is going to be astronomical. I mean, you better have photographs of every piece of furniture that you ever owned, because the courts are not going to deal with situations where you have been evicted, you haven't paid your rent, and the landlord now must store your clothing and your TV and your stuff, and then you're going to come back and sue the landlord because you're claiming something got broken. That's going to be a tough case. I'm telling, I'm never going to lie to the people. That's going to be a tough case.
You heard it first.
Yeah.
Don't try it. All right, you tenants, listen, guys. We're going to take a break, pause for the cause. We're going to be right back in a few minutes. Until then, keep your eye on this station. Don't change the channel. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. We'll be right back.
Very impressive, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. Thought he was pretty good.
I think we've got enough color around here. 2 points. Anne, who's next?
You drop this.
Imagine the power of one voice. Find yours at freedomcenter.org.
Hi, everybody. We're back with People Empowerment and our guest, the Honorable Judge Carney, Housing Court Judge. And we're going to get right back to it. So now, Judge, I want to ask you about this issue. And this is something, the graphics may not come up on the screen, but as far as the Buffalo court system, because you are a judge, you over housing court, but you would judge over all things, right? So tell us, are you familiar with Article X?
No.
Buffalo Court Article X, which is help and answers about things to do with the court system. It's something I was doing a little research about the court system, and it came up with this Article X.
Article 10 would be the informational access. I'm not personally familiar with it because we don't deal with that. Those are things that are set up for the public to view. We
Right.
really
Oh,
don't
okay.
deal with Article 10 that much. It's more of a help system that doesn't come
For us,
through
for
the
the
judges,
public.
right?
All right. Well, just so you guys know, you can go on the web, and you can go to on the internet, and you go to Buffalo City Courts Article X, and then it'll come up, and then it will explain to you, and it's a lot about answers to questions that you might have and all
Right.
this.
It's an informational section that Judge Amadeo was instrumental in setting up, so that, and our new tech people have set up, and it has a lot of the information that we're talking about. And you go through the Buffalo City Court website, and you go to Article X, Article 10. The questions are there, the answers are there, and they're as good as we can make it for the general public to get an overview or to direct you to other sources.
But it's absolutely something that the public should try to use.
It's something that if you're coming into Buffalo City Court or any court, you should get as much information as you said. You and I have talked about this every segment. Information is power.
Information is power, y'all. That's why we got the judge here for information. And speaking of information, we're going to ask him and get a little bit more information on him. Now, I just want to move around a little bit, and I want to ask the judge a few questions about bad properties. Because if you ever notice, you're riding around the city, and sometimes you see some of these areas, you just see these terrible properties, and you ride by them, and you see them again and again and again, all this blight, and you see damage where the people are going in them and tearing them up, and you got these bad properties. Judge, what is a neighbor to do besides complaining and complaining and complaining? It seems nothing happens when we just complain. What can the neighbor do?
We have a number of ways to get get properties into the courts.
Bad properties.
311, 311, 311.
311.
Keep calling 311. Get your neighbors to call 311 and complain about it. The building inspectors answer 19,000 311 complaints a year. They will get to that property. The other access points, everybody has a block club. Every area in Buffalo has a block club.
Okay.
Or access to a community center in different sections of the city. At those block club meetings, those block club leaders know who the building inspectors are. I visit the block clubs, I'd say 2-3 times a week. I'm at a block club meeting, talking to different people, writing down addresses. The building inspectors are there writing down addresses. The people at the block clubs also know who the council liaisons are. You can call your councilman's office. You can call 311. We also have a brand new project. It's 2 years old. It's community police officers.
Community police officers, right?
They are dedicated strictly to the quality of life issues. They don't answer 911 calls.
Quality of life issues, that's everything from the conditions of the property to
Parking, garbage,
drug
property.
dealing,
Right. Bad neighbors, loud neighbors, drug dealing neighbors.
vandalism,
Yes.
all this.
The
sort.
information, each police district has 2 community police officers. They work a different shift than anybody else. They work from 10 to 8 so that they touch all 3 shifts of the Buffalo Police. So whatever information they get, they can relay to detectives, they can relay to narcotic squads, they can relay to parking squads, they can handle it themselves. If it's a neighbor problem, they'll go knock on the door. If it's a problem with tenants, they'll find the landlord and they'll have a conversation with the landlord. They have direct access to me. When we set up community police, and thank God the mayor and Commissioner Durenda had the foresight to bring this program back after it was dead for many years, and
So when you
give
call-
the people access.
So when you call, you call, and when you bring up a certain issue situation, they directly put you in connection with the community police. Is that it?
They can.
Each category,
When you
or do you have to
31
ask for the
Right. When
community
you
police?
call 311, you file an anonymous complaint.
Okay, you file
Okay.
an anonymous complaint to 311.
They will give that complaint either to the building inspectors, the health inspectors, possibly the community police officers. They'll direct that information to the proper source. If you don't know where to go, then you can call 311 and ask for the community police. You can just go down to your district command and ask to speak to the community police officers or leave them a message. They'll answer all the messages that they get. Are you going to get a police officer there in 5 minutes? No.
But you will get a response.
But you will get a response.
Public, you hear that? You will get a response. Now, listen, I know our time is getting short. I just want to touch on something else. I know that, Judge, you're a community man. I know that you try to help a lot of people in the community. So, we got this big issue going on with Paradise House.
Yes.
And Paradise House. Paradise House is a transitional house for women going through changes, coming out of prison, whatever. It's been helpful. It's been around for over 20 years. County, he's lost their funding, 75%. They're about to shut down. You told me you were at a meeting this morning, grassroots.
Yes.
They're trying to help. So could you just say a couple words about Paradise House and tell the people about, if they could help?
Paradise House has been a wonderful program in the city of Buffalo, in the county of Erie for years now. And they did lose their funding, or a majority of their
75%.
funding. And there's a lot of grassroots community, I'm going to say angst about this, anger about this. I was at 2 community groups this morning, one at 8:30, one at 9:45, and they're all concerned about this. I know that at the grassroots meeting this morning, they were talking about trying to raise funds or raise awareness to those funds. A lot of the county legislatures now are interested in restoring those funds. Whether they're going to be able to do that or not, I really don't know. But it's one of those things that seems to have slipped through the cracks, so to speak. And if you want to try to save this program, you should get in contact with your county legislature. You should get in contact with the folks that run that program and see if they're going to have any fundraising efforts. And it's one of those wonderful programs.
Your Honor, listen, I know you can't help with any fundraising or
Right.
anything like that. You already explained that to me and whatever. But would you please tell all the millionaires you know out there to help these people? I mean, could you give them the wink or something? I mean, you see, we got the judge here. The judge wants to help Paradise House. I mean,
I know a lot of millionaires in housing court,
Well,
but they're not real fond of me all the time.
I mean, what do we got to do to get people to really help, the powers that be, to help a place like Paradise House in this impending situation? Because if these women are turned back to the streets,
It's a horrible situation, and they've helped a lot of folks over the years. I know we've accessed the program through referrals, etc., to transition young women, back into society, and it serves that purpose. I know that Constance Eve has had a program similar to that for many, many years that's helped a lot of young
Eve's
ladies.
wife?
Yes, that would, the residential resource center, women's residential resource center. And all of these programs are always in danger of losing their funding. These programs like Paradise House, it's not like Shays or the Philharmonic that has a lot of public support, a lot of money support. This is one of those little community houses that's doing so much good.
So much good.
But other than from what we're talking about now, I would bet you a lot of your listeners have never even heard of Paradise House. And it's something that it's worth looking into. It's worth saving.
Because it is saving lives and changing lives, and you got all these women, and to me, I just see these women resorting back to the streets or either going back to jail. Here you got this Paradise House where you could keep it open for basically $17 a day, but did you know it costs $175 a day to house inmates?
To put somebody
Did you
in
know
jail.
that?
Yes, I did.
$175 versus
More than a good hotel room.
versus $17
Right.
a day for these women,
Right.
the salt of the earth.
Right.
So
And the state is, I mean, I know Judge Amadeo just set up 2 new programs in Buffalo City Court. I know Judge Amy Martocci is going to spearhead the one program, which is going to be, you know, the human trafficking program. And that's going to deal with women that are forced into human trafficking, young women being forced into prostitution, young women being forced into lives, you know. The hook there is, of course, drugs. Get them addicted to drugs, get them addicted to heroin, and then force the work to work it off, or God forbid, human trafficking, which is kidnapping and shipping people overseas. That happens more than we ever realized as judges. It happens more than that. So we're setting up programs to do that, and where do we refer these young women to? Places like Paradise House, places like, you know, the Residential Resource Center that Mrs. Eve is so proud of. We have to have places to send our clients to help them, to save them while they're going through counseling programs.
Your Honor, let me ask you something. Time is winding down. If they were to, if someone was to set up a program and set up an account or set up something for a Paradise House, would you reach in your pocket and come out with your own personal money and help the process?
I'm not allowed to raise money, but I'm allowed to donate money. Yes, I would.
And you would do something like that?
Yes, I would.
You hear that, Ann Parrish? You hear that, Paradise House, the ladies? You hear that, people of Buffalo, citizens of Buffalo, millionaires that the judge knows. Maybe you can help these women out. You know, we crying out to you, you know, in our last couple minutes. Anyway, Judge Carney, you know, it's great to have you here on this program. It's great to have Housing Court one-on-one. All this information is important. I hope the people are paying attention and getting prepared. Because I know the worst thing for you is when people come to court and they're not prepared.
They're not ready. They don't have their information.
Or they spent up the money. They've held the money back, but they've spent it up. All these important things that go on in court. You want to see the judge smiling when you go to come to court? Be prepared. You want to see him not smiling and unfortunately have to judge against you? Be unprepared. Isn't that how it works?
Judges are never against anybody.
Oh, the judge is neutral. You see, we got him on the spot. Judge, you got 30 seconds, and I'll take the last 30 seconds. Just say goodbye to the people. You got 30 seconds.
I'm enjoyed my time here so much. It's been so wonderful. I would come back anytime. Any of the subjects that we've done, we could do an hour on each subject. And I encourage people, find out things, learn things, ask questions. And when you go to court, bring your evidence, bring your witnesses, be ready to proceed.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. You have it all from the judge. We're going to be back next week with another phase of this housing court, and I'm really going to get into the meat and potatoes of the questions that are going to be asked. Go to the website, People Empowerment. I was supposed to be mentioning this website all across the show, but I got so caught up. Go to People Empowerment, register your questions for the judge, and we'll answer them next week on the program. Until then, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention.